Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So welcome. So today is a very interesting topic. It's something that I've been meditating on for actually the last couple months. And here we've titled it Ideals and Opportunity. It's a Bhakti ethics. And you can see. So, question for you: have you been in a situation where you compromised your something that you held as like a principle for maybe a practical purpose, or on the other side, have you kind of didn't fulfill a practical purpose because you were kind of really strong and hung up on a particular principle. Maybe you thought, maybe I should have went for the practical side of it. So anything comes to mind. I personally, I'll share, you might know this, that I noticed, I started going to the temple in 93, and I joined the ashram as a monk in 1999, and I would hear stories of monks getting in tragic car accidents, like falling asleep at the wheel. And I would sometimes, not super common, but I did hear these stories. I hear and for those who lived as monks, you've been in two of them. So those who lived as monks, it was not a question. They wouldn't even think, oh, maybe I should get a 5-hour energy drink. It was not really in the kind of menu of options.
What was the aftermath of the car?
Deadly car accidents. Yeah, like 4 people die, 5 people die in a car accident. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I
So,
don't understand that. I've been in
so, and I lived as a monk. You lived as a monk. It's kind of the culture or training. We lived a very serious lifestyle. Wake up sometimes 2 in the morning, 3, maybe latest 4 in the morning. Get up and do meditation. There's all these different principles that are followed and practices. And then even if you don't practice living in as an ashram, you're married, there's a lot of these are very kind of strongly wired. And I'd find myself driving and I could kill my whole family driving like this. Actually, it's a very, very dangerous. And so last year, I'm going to at least have a 5-hour energy drink in the car just in case. For a monk, this might seem kind of controversial. For the others who are practicing, who join, are coming to the temple, they didn't live in ashram. The obvious answer is yes. And for the monks that grew up in are in that kind of system, the obvious answer is no. So it's like this kind of tension that is there. But for me, I found that was kind of a compromise of practicality. I'm compromising the life of the people in my family. It wasn't like I'm just putting anything in my mouth for pleasure or even for for work to be more productive, but just to actually be alive. So is there anything for yourself, anything you can think of where you compromised an ideal or compromised a practical side of things?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I can think
Or you can just think of a scenario that maybe there would have been a better course of action. Maybe if you have anything to share, anything on your mind?
There have been moments in my life I've lost myself within desire I was so lost in sort of my own idea of who I am and like who I thought I was, that it was like principle was attached and to my sense of ego, and so the more I got lost inside of the ego, the less I was able to be aware of the world around me and be conscious of the world around me. So I felt, that I caused another person pain because I was so lost inside of my own mind, and I wasn't aware and taking note of the world around me.
And in that situation, would you say you were more kind of leaning on the opportunistic side of your own pleasure, or maybe you're more blindsided by the idealistic side? Which
I would say, I guess it was opportunistic.
opportunistic?
Yeah,
Okay.
that it felt like there was an opportunity, and so then, oh yes, now.
Oftentimes when I'm traveling, I can't always live up to that ideal, so I might have to compromise at least a little bit to be practical on that.
Yeah, same.
Rupnarayan.
Sorry, nothing's going to mind.
Okay. Kalpa Vriksha Prabhu, anything comes to mind?
Yeah, I have 5 kids, so you have nothing but you have no choice but to be practical. And it just becomes a teacher. It just becomes the biggest teacher that, like, so you can make whatever plans you want and tell yourself, like, so for anyone that's new, like newer to this practice of like, so I've been a householder my whole life, but I lived like a month, but in my house for like the first 10 years, I was married and we had kids and stuff, but then, so the standards that you should set for yourself in spiritual life are the ones you can follow, and only you know what you can follow. You can't let other people. You can take other people's suggestions, you can take other people's advice, but never take their word. Meaning, like, you have to figure out what works for you, because what happens, and I'm not talking about big things, I'm talking about little things that people get caught up on. Like, the principles that Prabhupada set, if you're going to practice the Hare Krishna lifestyle, follow those 4 principles, the 4 basic, to the best you can at least start, right? And then there's a lot of other sort of like, nuanced principles that come along the way that people have a tendency to get caught up on. Like I did many, many years, and it's just like, I drove myself crazy. And there was points where I kind of drove myself away from all this because I was like, I just can't, it's too much, I can't do it. But then at some point you just got to kind of come back around and just be honest with yourself, like what you can do, and then you just do it when you can do it. And the whole thing is just this practice of continually becoming mindful of just trying to always do your best no matter what. It's just kind of like riding a bike, At some point you're just gonna ride off into the ditch. It doesn't mean you're gonna wipe out or get hurt. And when that happens, you just get back on the road. And you just keep going. So that was always my experience.
Thank you. Welcome back. And so one of the things that we're going to cover is a spectrum of ethical reasoning. So ethical reasoning is the foundation of how we decide what we do in life, how we decide what is right, how we decide what is wrong. And so you have this one term called deontology. It was first coined by a person named Jeremy Bentham. And he was basically presenting something that was opposing his own philosophical outlook. So his philosophical outlook was utilitarianism, which is a type of consequentialism. What is of utility for myself, in the sense of the greatest happiness, and what kind of principle would be a principle that would applied everywhere would be greatest happiness principle. And so in opposition, he used this word called deontology. So deon means duty. And so deontology is a sense of that the ends don't justify the means, that there is something objectively true or objectively valuable in an act itself. Like there's something objectively valuable in not lying. Not in regards to the ends, but the not lying itself has value. And so that's what you would call deontology. Now there are many different renditions of this. So Mr. Bentham, he coined the term. It's often associated with Kant, the philosopher Kant, who also presented. He didn't use this term, but he tried to present a kind of secular form of deontology. But generally, the way I see deontology is something that is that's objectively true, and you can maybe even say that it's understood through revelation, understood through divine source, or something like that. It's something that has a transcendence to itself. You know, it transcend not to itself, but it's transcendent in itself. It is a eternal truth. Like not harming somebody is like objectively good. So that's deontology. Consequentialism is the ends do justify the means. And so here's some definition here. Mere performance of one's duty is the ultimate form of acting good. The moral value in an act is found in the act itself, not in the consequence. So at all times, do not tell a lie. You know, all times you should speak the truth. And so you have an example. Actually, let's go and explain consequent. So consequentialism it's not really important if you're telling a lie or truth. What is important is the consequence. Utility is the principle in itself. And so you have a lesson of consequentialism told by Bhishma Dev, who was practically in his youth the most deontological character that there is. He was like, the sun can stop burning, the universe can stop running, but I'm not going to break my vow. This is how he was in his youth. But later on, he does tell this story. He's speaking to one of his students, or I could say grandson, Yudhishthir. This is a Mahabharata, chapter called the Shanti Parva. And he tells a story about a sage who vowed he'd never tell a lie. And there was a man who was running from the mafia. And he goes and he comes across this sage and he says, oh, these guys are going to kill me. Please, can you hide me? Please, please, please hide me. And he said, yes, go up in the attic there. And then the mafia show up and we're looking for a guy. He looks a little distressed and we have some important business with him. Can you tell us where he's at? He's like, yes. He's up in the attic. And so in the Mahabharata, Bhishma continues. He said, that man actually had to suffer extreme karmic reactions for not telling a lie. Our Srila Prabhupada, our teacher, he also repeats this story. So this is the sense of consequentialism. So you have this in the Bhagavad Gita. This is 1825. Anubandam shayam himsam anapeksha chupaurusham mohod arambate karma yattattamasam uchate. So when an action is performed in illusion, that's not considering bondage, future bondage, or violence or distress caused to others. It's considered in the mode of darkness, mode of ignorance. So there are three modalities that are often described in the Bhagavad Gita: that of complete darkness, that of kind of build my empire, passionate desire, I'm going to be successful kind of nature, and of actually very enlightened and very clear-headed state. Usually our modern society kind of has just these two: don't be lazy, don't be a lazy fool, be productive. But there's like another modality above that, which is be very, what's called sattvic, be very clear-headed and peaceful. And so he's describing action. What does action look like when it's in that modality? And you see here these consequentialistic points. And at this point, it might seem that deontology, might seem like just kind of a mindless existence. And so I actually specifically edited this quote. I took out one part of the verse, and that's the element that introduces deontology. Um, that you ought to do something not just because you evaluated the results of the act, but because it's stated in Scripture. So that's the deontological element. Now, when we talk about Scripture, we're talking about not something that is just some dogmatic, this book says so. That's kind of where the deontological side seems really mindless. The book said so, I do it. But it's an element that introduces knowledge that is transcendent. And so here's some, examples of deontology in the Bhagavad Gita. You have Arjuna. He encourages Arjuna to fight. And Arjuna gives amazing answers. Why not to fight? He said, I don't want to see women without their husbands, children without their fathers. I don't want to destroy social harmony. And it's very confusing. And Prabhupada, he came to America in the 70s, and he's presenting Bhagavad Gita in the middle of the Vietnam War. And it seems it's something, you would have to be something wrong with you to not see the merit in what Arjuna is saying. Arjuna is speaking, see the merit, or actually even side with the arguments of Arjuna. Another example of deontology in the Bhagavad Gita is what is called yogashta, this kind of state of yoga, that doing things, whether there's success or failure, whether you're going to win or lose by that act, doing the right thing, whether it's going to hurt or not. So this is very not consequential. It's very deontological. So many times you see this yogashta. It means not to consider attachment to like success or failure. It's kind of like a Zen-like state of I'm just going to do what I'm duty bound to do. Just rise above the duality. So this might seem quite confusing. So this is. So here's a question for you. We point out some of the problems with deontology. What are the problems with consequentialism?
Well, for one, if you live by a consequentialist ideal, you no longer think about the right state. You think about what needs to be done, right? So you get to a point where you become very military-like, or you're doing things for the sake of self, right?
So it's opportunistic.
It's opportunistic. Okay. So, but there's good and bad, of course. I would say lack of presence takes you out of the present moment.
Take it out of the present moment. You're thinking of the consequence. What else could there be? Do you know the consequence? It's like lack of presence, but A leads to B leads. Do you know what B is? Do you know what Z is? So there's a lack of actually knowing what the consequence is. I see.
I guess making decisions based on like how you feel, like in the moment, kind of ties into like not considering the consequences.
What we're talking about is consequentialism is your merit of what you think is right or wrong is based on what you consider good consequences, what you value as good consequence. And so another issue is that there's no standard of what is an objective good consequence. Like we might try to formulate some theory, but there's like, for example, if it's good, if everyone knows the trolley example. You pull a lever. There's a train going down the trolley, and there's one person stuck on one track, and there's 5 people on the other track. Then, if you don't pull the lever, 5 people will be killed. But if you pull the lever, only one person would be killed. And so consequentialism would obviously state then you have to pull the lever. If you're considering life of value, then pull the lever, and one person will be saved. But you take that same argument further. You have you're a doctor, and there's somebody in the hospital, and this person needs a new kidney, a new lung, a new heart, a new liver, a new bladder, and 5 lonely people in your neighborhood. And maybe they don't have children, So if you kill them, take their organs, and you save one person, or you save one, or you kill one person, you save 5 people with their organs.
That is consequentialism.
That is consequentialism, because by the consequence justifies, the ends justify the means. So at first it may seem like, okay, it sounds nice, but then intuitively there's something missing that is there, isn't it? Some intuitive. So how do you validate? What do you know is so? And then what are some of the difficulties of deontology? Deontology again is the merit is in the act itself. Yes.
Well, I had a question. Don't both of these methods sort of assume that there is good and evil?
Yes. Because it's ethical reasoning. The whole ethical reasoning means the subject of. So you see, these tensions are repeated throughout our life and throughout even like this Bhakti tradition. So you have what is called purity and utility. So Srila Prabhupada, he had this statement: purity is the force, and utility is the principle. And when he was a young man, he met his teacher. His friends brought him to meet this guru, and he's like, I'm not interested in gurus and spiritual. I've seen so many bogus people who have lofty talking and lofty ideals, but they don't really live it. And his friends valued his opinion so much. They're like, no, we really think this is the real deal. We want you to check him out for us. Like, we think you've got that kind of discernment that you can, tell us, like, is this legit? And Prabhupada at the time, he was a big follower of the Gandhi movement, which is, it's a very kind of renounced, very, but it was a political movement. And as soon as he came into the room where the teacher was speaking, that teacher saw Srila Prabhupada and told him, you are a nice, young, educated person. You should spread the teachings of Bhakti around the world in English. And he himself objected. He said, well, what about the independence of India? And the teacher said, actually, the political situation may change, but it's actually, that's like the Band-Aid, or that's like the symptom. We have to get to the heart of the problem, we see India has changed their political leadership, but it's not that their problems have magically gone away. There's so many problems came after the new rule of independence. But on the other side of that, when Srila Prabhupada was near the end of his life, and there was a discussion of how will the Bhakti, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, continue to flourish in his departure. And one disciple, Giriraj Swami, said sincerity, which is the same thing as that purity. And Prabhupada said no. Intelligence. Organization, organization, organization. So you see, this is, you could say, conflicting message. There's a tension that is there. Not that we should not be pragmatic or intelligent, but the intelligence is that we need also purity. It has to have that principle in it, you know. So purity is the force, utility is the principle. You have, same way, we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who see his painting here. He was the Qazi, the ruler of the land, banned kirtan. And Lord Chaitanya had a massive, massive, massive kirtan protest. And you say that's a political action, but it had a pure basis. The intention was to bring about purity of spiritual knowledge, and not to. They didn't just say, "Well, we'll chant with pure hearts in our homes." They were engaging in a worldly way, just like Arjuna was encouraged to engage in a worldly way and be involved in this kind of political situation of this fight. So you have these tensions: purity, utility. Here's some more: principle versus practical. Idealism versus opportunism. You have sentiment versus sensible. This is, you find in, we'll see this later on in chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita, and the discipline or the tapas, the austerity of speech. Many of the items are sensitive, and many of the items are sensible, and sometimes the weight is different depending on the scenario. As we mentioned, deontology and consequential religion versus philosophy. So here we got a quote from Albert Einstein: "Science without religion is lame, and religion without science is blind." And so you have our teacher, Srila Prabhupada: religion without science, philosophy or science, mentioned either way, is fanaticism. Sometimes it's sentiment and sometimes even fanaticism. And philosophy or science without religion is just speculation. It's just in the head. If you want to learn about what's happening in Japan, philosophy or science without religion is just speculation. If you want to know what's happening in Japan, guesswork won't help you. You need a source from Japan. So if you want to know what's happening metaphysically, you need a metaphysical source.
What do you consider religion of that source in the science? Wait, you said science without
Religion or philosophy.
is speculation.
Science or philosophy without religion is speculation. So you have basically three forms of evidence.
So what's religion? That's my question.
I'll explain. So you have three forms of evidence. You have things that you see, hear, touch, taste, smell. That's called pratyaksha. Aksha means eyes, prati means around. That comes around the senses, that your senses come contact with and you give your attention to. That's called direct observation. Then following that is called anuman, or logical inference. So anuman works with perception. Logic works with perception. Logic doesn't create any information. It organizes information. Like when you see the sun, it's this big, but logic says it's bigger. So perception gives you a piece of information, but logic organizes it. Logic, or anuman, also works with the third source of information. You have three sources of information, and that last one is called shabda. Shabda means testimony. So the example is, I'm sitting here in New York City. I want to know what's happening in Japan. I cannot use my senses alone. I can't use my logic alone. I can't say, I like pizza. New Yorkers like pizza. Japanese people are not New York. They hate pizza. Or I like pizza. I'm in New York. Japanese people must love pizza because they're also people. I'm just speculating. I'm just working in the confines of my limited intelligence. I need a source from Japan to provide that information. So when we're talking about religion, we're talking about a transcendent source of information.
Where does faith come in?
So we'll get into that. Faith is like, actually, should have put a slide for that. Faith is like, it's a willingness to participate. Faith is like the gas in the car, and doubt is like the brake. And if you have one alone or the other alone, we should have put that as one of the list. So faith, if you just step on the gas, if you just have blind faith.
You have something to give the gas to.
So if you just have blind faith, that's what Prabhupada's saying is here, is sentiment or fanaticism.
You need a vehicle. So vehicle could be like
So that's the utility.
scripture. Vehicle could be scripture,
So you're getting faith from the scripture.
Yeah, so, but
Hold on. We don't want to speculate, going all over the place. Okay.
You're giving something.
Just hold on. So you have this gas is a willingness to participate. Like I give you a map of the MTA, and I say, hey, welcome to New York City. This will help you figure your way around. And you look at it, and everything seems to make sense. And you develop what is called shraddha, faith. You have a trust, a willingness to engage with that information. But that's a small f faith. That's
The belief and the faith. So you can have the belief in the text or the vehicle, whatever you're talking about, right? So the faith is kind of like the gas that gives you, that fuels your belief when you can test what
okay.
happens based on that.
So that faith becomes what is called nishta. It becomes a practical experience when you actually get on the train, and it does take you from Hoyt Skimmerhorn to J Street Metrotech to what's after J Street? I forget what's after that one.
Decal, I don't know.
No, not Decal.
High Street?
High Street. Yes. Then up to Chambers and all. When you might not be at the last end stop, but you know for sure that what it said it was going to give you, it gave you. So that is what is called shraddha. Shraddha is, Prabhupada has translated sometimes as interest. It's a small f faith. In the West, in our kind of dogmatic scientism, we generally attribute faith to be some kind of religious thing. But faith is everywhere. It's a trust to engage with something that we don't have a full, complete knowledge of.
I think faith is magical. I think faith is more magical than belief.
So when we're talking about that magical faith, that is when we start to give our heart to divinity because we are seeing that reciprocity that is there. So we start to see the reciprocity, and we're more willing to okay, in the beginning it just seemed to make sense. I applied it, but now I see that there is a benefactor behind everything. So doubt is also very important. If you have your foot fully on the brake, there's nothing happening. So if you have doubt, and your doubt is like if I say, Rupanarayan, where are you from?
Born and raised here.
I don't believe you. Prove it to me. And then you pull out an ID, and you're like, here's the ID. And I'm like, I don't believe that. That could be a fake ID. And then you're like, well, here's the picture I was at the DMV. And you're like, I don't believe. It's like, it's just infinite regression. It won't go anywhere.
It's passing
So-
the state of either being true or false.
So that's crippling doubt means that's stepping on the brake completely. And stepping on the gas completely is a complete fanaticism, where doubt is a sign of intelligence, and Arjuna is expressing constant doubts. That's what pari, again, we said, where did we use it earlier? We used it for pari. So there's pari prashnena, means that with the teacher, we ask all around we're asking. What was it? pratyaksha. That's prati also is related to pari. So pari prashnena, that the relationship with the teacher is that blind faith is to have an answer, but you don't want questions. You just attach to having the idea that you understand the truth, but you really are unwelcome to any kind of questioning or reasoning to it. And then blind doubt is you have a lot of questions, but you're not really seeking answers. You're just asking questions in this kind of mood of maybe crippled uh, disbelief where you can't go anywhere, or maybe it's just to establish yourself as an authority over the other person. You just don't want the other person to be right. So this is in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 34, that he says that you can't have blind doubt or blind faith. We want to have this trust or willingness to participate, and also this intellectual. So that's this kind of faith and doubt, or this religion and philosophy that is there. And so the consequentialism is kind of like you just speculating constantly, and then deontology is fanaticism and critical thinking. Could be very dangerous person. This is how you get terrorists. Just not critical thinking. And this doesn't even have to be manifest in a religious sense. You have many people that do not welcome critical thinking, and it becomes very dangerous. So consequentialism, like we don't know always what the consequence is. Like in America, we were all about the Industrial Revolution, 100 years ago, and maybe now we're like, maybe that wasn't the best thing. Maybe it wasn't the best thing that we did.
We don't know where the Industrial Revolution is taken. We don't know the means to ends.
Exactly.
Or we could if you go to the future, right?
If you go to so you have this example of when the water's flowing down a river, it goes, if there's an object in the way, it flows around like a large stone. And so that fluidity, that flexibility, that's the consequentialism that we're talking about, the utility, the pragmatic, the practical. But why is it flowing down the river? Because there's gravity. There's an anchor. There is an ideal or a principle that's pulling in a certain direction. Purity is the force, exactly, yeah. So like, say you're lost, you're in the forest. One thing you could have, or you're in a maze. One thing you can have is a compass. And it gives a sense of ideal, of the direction. Or you could have something else. You could have a map. It gives the kind of adjustments. But one on the with the map, you see that there maybe there is a big lake, but you don't know which direction the lake. You don't know where is your goal and what are the objects in between of that. And with the compass, you might know, oh, my direction is to go this way. I need to go north to get back home. But there is a giant lake in the way, and to practically get there, I might have to go to east, north, and then back west. I have to make some adjustments. So you have map and a compass, purity and utility, gravity and the fluidity of the flexibility of the water. Again, purity and utility, ideal, and then opportunity. So then another example is, say you're an engineer. You want to build, or not an engineer, you're an architect. You want to build a beautiful temple for Krishna. You want to attract the minds and hearts of New York City by a beautiful structure. And you're going to, and you've been granted, they're giving you, was it Ellis Island, Governor's Island. They're giving you Governor's Island to build a wonderful temple. That'll be the biggest temple in the world on Governor's Island. And so you're the architect, you have this wonderful view, but then the engineer is the one who says, well, there's soil, there's sand over here, there's soil over here, there's hard stone over here. This is how you have to adjust. So this tension is there. What else do we find? Where else do we find this tension? You have this in politics. What is the kind of overarching theme between Republicans and Democrats? What kind of more ethical reasoning would be found on what side? What would you say?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
A Republican view would be more deontological, like the principle, the rule, and or would they be more like consequentialism, like we're going to look at things based on the science or the consequences of things? Which would be the kind of view, would you say?
It's more like deontological.
Yeah, so conservatism is a sense of like conservating a principle.
Yeah.
And we see that the value that is there. For example, just imagine if America decided in the past that we are going to deal with this problem of slavery in a consequentialistic manner. We're going to see, wait a minute, it will hurt the economy, so let's slowly phase out of slavery. No, they're like this, they're ideologues. They're like, no, this is wrong, we have to get rid of it. That's very deontological. You know? And then after like World War II, there was a great danger of destruction of the economy. And the government created very innovative ways of dealing with economy and money and things like that, and business, and that was very consequential and actually saved the country from becoming completely destitute and distraught. And so in different times in our own culture, we see how these things have merit. There's one of the reasons I'm interested in this topic, because our society is becoming very, very polarized, and thinking that these mindsets are, you can only need one, but it's like I say, it's a complete protein. When you put them together, they're very good. You need these. You need the tension there, but you need both on their own, as consequentialism is. On their own, it has no vision, because nothing is objectively valuable. If you were to try to make a system of this is valuable, that is valuable, it always comes down to some kind of sentiment that has some maybe scriptural or deontological base to it. It's like on the consequential side alone, it becomes dangerous. And then the deontological side, the side of only principle, becomes very inflexible and lack of compassion and so. So here we have this in discipline of speech. You have this in the Bhagavad Gita, and my son's social studies textbook for I think 5th grade or so gave an acronym that was almost all the letters except for one was provided in his. This is directly from the Bhagavad Gita, but it was also in his social studies textbook. So you have the devotee of Krishna. He thinks before he speaks, so his speech is truthful, but it is also helpful. It is also inspiring, necessary, kind, and it's, when we're talking about philosophical matters, spiritual matters, it's sourced. Like we said. So this is Bhagavad Gita 17, was it 25? Anudvegam 15. Anudvegam karam bhakyam satyam brihatam chayat swadaya bhyasanam chayava vanmaya tapu uchate. And you see, this is actually, although all these things have value, they're like this spectrum of sometimes one has more weight than the other. If your friend's building is on fire, do you go like, hello, good morning? You see some kids playing in the street or something, you start use some swear words, you speak like somebody from Boston, get the hell out of the street, You're not very, you'd say kind or inspiring, but you might just be helpful and truthful and necessary. Or say somebody in the family, anudvegam karam. Or somebody is in the family, they pass away. and you're at the funeral. And you're not there as a priest of the family. You're there as the family member. They don't know you as some kind of spiritual authority. So you don't go up on the podium and say, "It's all right. You're not the body. The soul is eternal. Why y'all crying?" Now, I've been to many, many, many funerals because I've been invited as a priest, and then they asked me, come and say something like that, not as like bombastic, but they invite me to say those things because that's what they're expecting. But that, in that sense, a person who was just like coming to a family's funeral, then they just be sensitive, even though it may be true that we're not the body. But they might not be able to digest that, and they might not see us. We don't want to take a position of a teacher when the person hasn't agreed to become our student or hasn't even put themselves in the seat as a student.
Doing violence.
Yeah, true. So this is this spectrum, and you see they both have value there. So here's a question for you: if God, Krishna, tells you to do something, should you do it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that depends if he's testing you.
It's a good question. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So
He's testing you for the Dharma. Your understanding of Dharma.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking in all of the ontology and consequentialism, it brings to mind, like, we're discussing the thinking mind, right?
yeah.
Thoughts. And some of, like, reading that I've been doing and just listening to lectures and stuff, they speak about the sort of emptying of, like, when you're living within your purpose and everything that you do is attributed to some other force working within you, then, and I've been thinking about this a lot, or trying to not think about it, whatever, but like, there's forces moving within you, so the more that you quiet your mind, like in meditation, the more you're able to listen to the sort of purifying force that exists within all of us. So I guess this is just I wanted to share because it comes to my mind when you pose this question, or even just speaking about the.
Nice.
Does this make sense?
Perfect. Yeah. There's actually no substitution other than that growth, that purity that comes.
Yeah.
Part of it is using a spiritualized intelligence, but chances are, if we make decisions, the only way we're going to be closer to the correct action is to grow as spiritual individuals. My teacher, who's a disciple of Prabhupada, he himself is very sarcastic, and Prabhupada was always very sarcastic with him. And so he asked Prabhupada, how are we going to know, when you're not here with us, how are we going to know we're doing the right thing? And Prabhupada said, you'll try, but you do the wrong thing. And he took it as like, yeah, there's no substitution other than growth.
I feel like a great teacher of the Dharma is the Buddha, in the sense of like the truth that he gives is protection of Dharma in every single action, I believe. So I feel like, me personally, I feel like Krishna always tests for Dharma. Your understanding of Dharma.
Yes, so I actually have a story of Arjuna being tested. So Arjuna's son was killed by a man named Ashvatthama. This man was the son of Arjuna's teacher. He was the son of actually a priest, a brahmana, someone who dedicates her life to a very simple living, and so Arjuna's teacher's son not only killed Arjuna's son, he killed Arjuna's nephew, 4 nephews in their sleep in this battle. Now in the battle, they were very principled. You fight during the daytime. At night, you may even dine with your enemy. But the daytime, you fight from sunrise to sunset. And you fight with certain rules and regulations, literally above the belt. But this man came in the middle of the night and killed children. And so Draupadi, his wife, was completely distraught. Arjuna said, I will kill that man. And Krishna said, go kill that man. And Arjuna chased him and captured him. But due to something in his heart, he decided not to kill him. And he brought him. And his brother, who is known as the personification of Dharma. And we find that this brother, even this question of what is right, what is wrong, even though he was considered like the son of the god of Dharma, the son of righteousness, it was always, it was very hard to figure out what is the right action to do. Arjuna's brother Yudhishthira. So Arjuna's brother said, don't kill him. Draupadi said, don't kill him. His mother has already lost her husband. I don't want her to lose her son as I have just done. So her compassion was based on her feeling for the mother and many other factors as well. It was you could say, a deontologically based consequentialism, that it was rooted in objective principles, but it was intelligent. It wasn't just, there's a rule, the book says do this, do this. And so Arjuna was being examined by Krishna. And so God told him to do this. Bhima, his other brother, Bhima is like, if you hear about the character Bhima, he's like the Hulk. He's massive. He's insanely strong. He's got a temper. And he's very powerful. And he's like, Bhima is actually kind of coming up and like arguing the case of kill this guy. And then Draupadi is arguing the case not to. And then Krishna actually manifests 4 arms just to like kind of calm the two. And Arjuna, what he does is that this man had a powerful gem that gave him great powers. And he cut off the gem and like cut his hair and disfigured in a way that was considered at the time such a humiliation that it was considered worse than death. And that Krishna was happy. God told him, do something. He didn't do what God told him to do. And God was like, you passed the test. So he's pari akshata. The Lord is examining us from all around. Not just we have some kind of formula that is going to fit in all situations. That we always have to become, actually, the word is daksha. We have to become very expert. The yoga is described in the Bhagavad Gita as yoga karma koshalam, that the yogi is very, it's the art of action that he knows. So it's not just a principle, I'm a spiritualist, so I don't engage in the worldly. There may be circumstances, like you said, Prabhupada was encouraged not to be involved in the Gandhi thing, but have something that's actually has more deeper impact upon the world. But then we may be involved in some kind of, if somebody tries to stop the kirtan, we might get very political. Actually, one of the best things to happen to our temple in London is when the government shut it down. It was the best thing that ever happened to the London temple. We have a mansion that was donated by George Harrison. Beautiful, beautiful temple in the craziest, wealthiest neighborhood of London. And then all of a sudden, like in the 70s and 80s, you've got thousands of people coming through like these small little streets in these really, really wealthy neighborhoods, and cars is parking everywhere. And the rich, wealthy, people were like, we don't want this. And they succeeded, and they shut the temple down. And it created such a, they said this actually was a good consequence. They created such a unity amongst the community, and they had kirtan protests and all these different things. And the government just built them a new road from the backside to the highway, just straight to the temple, And it actually, before they might have had like a couple hundred people on Sunday, then they started having thousands of people on Sunday because of that whole thing, So,
People love that kind of stuff.
oh,
Like when it gets political and it's
oh.
like a rich versus poor. Like it,
Actually, I saw this thing that if there's an option where the rich are benefited and the poor are benefited, and then there's an option where the rich are put down and the poor also suffer, all around the world the cultures will pick the one where the rich and the poor both suffer, because there's just so much kind of tension that is there.
Really?
Yes, yes, they've done studies of like different kind of. Yeah. So we need that purity, and we need to be also very intelligent, and
Art of action is beautiful.
so.
Beautiful phrase.
Oh. And so, if you can imagine a world where everyone has some doubt, really questions their motives, like you said, you're questioning your motive. Am I just being opportunistic? Am I rationaling lies? Rationalize, Am I just putting out, giving out rations for different justifications in my head? Or am I being so rigid and unforgiving that I'm maybe not necessarily seeing the practical situations? Maybe I'm so. We have in our one book called The Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita. There's what is called, what is the Sanskrit? It is. Do you know this one?
Which verse?
Is it one? The second one, that is
Atyahara Priyasasya
prajalpo
Deva.
niyamagraha. So this tension is there. Niyamagraha, niyama means regulations, and this word has two meanings. So there's niyamagraha and niyamagraha. One of them is a really long A because it's a long A and a long A, and one is a short A and a long A, and so it changes the meanings. And so one of them is being diligent, steadfast with the rules, but we forget the principle, the actual deep principle that's behind whatever rule that's there. And then the other one is to neglect the rules, all these rules and regulations. So we have to, either case is becomes very detrimental for our spiritual life. So there's some thoughts. And then, so the practice is to look at ourselves and our own life and see what are ways that we can become, get more purity in our life, and what are ways that we can be more practical so we can get more purity in our life. And so you can take that home. And so, with that, see if there's some reflections. I know it's a big topic. This is what we do every Sunday, Darshan Room. So if you have any reflections, you can even take this mic around, so it's good for the recording. If you want to, anybody have, what's your takeaway for today?
So many. I love the phrase, the art of action. That really spoke to me when you said that, and getting more into this idea of purity, or allowing the sort of purifying force to move through you. There is a sense of practicality in how we engage with the world on a daily basis, this is where I've been caught in my life these days, actually, is sort of balancing my spiritual practice and spiritual life with the life that I live, going to work and being on the train and interacting with people. And so trying to honor the sort of practicality of how to engage with people, and also knowing, when I feel like I have something to share, or when the right moment is to teach someone something, if that actually is if the moment's calling for that, or if it's just my ego telling me that, oh yeah, you need to talk about this thing that you listen to, and you need to tell everybody about it because then they'll think you're super smart and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So trying to get past that, which is a thing I know it's very human and very shared, but these sort of practical ideas of being able to, like the thing you mentioned about religion and philosophy, and those, I was thinking about it as in terms of like faith and like loving awareness, or faith and compassion, and having these things like be able to exist in the same breath, and finding that balance.
So yeah, in our stage of practice, we're employing these things, but in the stage of perfection, they are actually natural characteristics. The compassion is within bhakti. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes there are 4 things that are within bhakti. Let's see if I can remember. I think it's satyam, truth, compassion. There was Kushtuba mentioned it yesterday, but there are certain things that they're actually inherent. Humility, that's another thing. It's inherent inside of a perfected state of devotional service. And so we're practicing those things as we're practicing bhakti, but eventually it's a state of being. It's a state of our actual forgiveness also. That's another quality. I think that's the 4th one.
Yeah.
Asim?
Yeah, thank you for the lecture. You talked about consequentialism. What was the other one?
Deontology.
Deontology and
That's a big word,
consequentialism. Never mind.
You got it.
Yeah. I think, being practical, and also like practicality and idealism. Those are 2 things that I've honestly been battling ever since I was kind of introduced into Krishna consciousness. When I first moved, like I started living at a temple, and I was also in college during that time. And I was heavily influenced by the temple culture, and I just wanted to give up college. And I was telling my parents about it. I was like, college doesn't make any sense. Like this is the thing we should be doing. And I was heavily influenced by deontology. Am I using it in the right context?
Like the sense of principle and the
Yeah, and my parents were freaking out. They were like, "No way!" Like they were just shocked that I was thinking like that. And later on, as
they're
I got
probably really upset. I'm sorry. They're so
yeah,
upset.
they were so upset. And then after some time, I was just kind of living in this new world. Like I came to the US, like in the new country, just started seeing things as more like nuanced. Like things are very kind of, not every solution applies in every situation. So it's a battle of like practicality and idealism. So I guess there's the question stems from like how do you balance both? I feel like certain things that I'm working on right now, like starting off a career, wanting to have certain material aspirations, trying to build certain comforts. It makes me to it makes you to like not what's the word sacrifice kind of certain ideal principles that you kind of strive for. And how do you balance both, and like how do you find satisfaction in like every decision that you've made?
One point is Prabhupada gave a nice kind of checks and balances to get a clear idea of our course of action. So, we have there's Lord in the heart. There's guidance from the heart. It's called Chaitya Guru, and that can be more and more effective as we grow. But we have to understand that, like sometimes somebody will ask a question, like like say a kid asks their father, "Dad, there's this thing I really want. Can I have it? And I think it's good for this, that, Can I have it?" It's like we understand that our questions are kind of decisions may be very much influenced by our own desires and our own kind of opportunistic, materialistic, materially motivated. So there's the Lord in the heart, and then there's that. Oftentimes we get good intuition, but then there's other ways to balance that out, and that is called guru, sastra, and sangha. So we refine your intelligence by studying sacred literature. That by studying Bhagavad Gita, you see Arjuna this is a whole. Both of these things are there, and we find these lessons that we're hearing are from Bhagavad Gita itself. So we refine our intelligence from sastra. We refine our intelligence from the guru, or someone who is very much exemplifying what does it mean. It's important to find somebody who is a deeper practitioner than us. Sometimes it's a little bit painful to be around somebody who is better at us than in something, but it helps us to grow.
Yeah.
So, and the Rupa Goswami, he describes, how do you know who's your kind of main teacher in your life, your guru? How do you know? Because there are different types of gurus. You have people that you take advice from, people you learn instructions from, and there are those who kind of you really wholeheartedly kind of get deep guidance from. And he said there's really, the only way is to actually live with the person. This is what it said, a couple hundred years ago. You have to live with the person. What does that mean nowadays? Well, you do have to see how the person lives. You have to see their practical, the integrity of their lifestyle. Nowadays, there's internet. You can also hear what is the clarity of their teachings. How are they teaching? But you do need to see how they're living. So the guru, if you see somebody, I trust this person's giving me the authentic information. I trust the integrity of their lifestyle. I trust their clarity of their Chaitra Guru, the Lord giving the Guru within the heart, giving them, and so I can ask questions in that way. But again, like Arjuna, every 18 chapters, 9 chapters start with a question, and the other 9 chapters start with an implied question. So it's all around full of inquiry. It's respectful inquiry. It's not blind faith. It's respectful inquiry. But it's all around full of that break of that doubt that is there. So guru, sastra, and then sangha, the practitioners that you have association with. You can present, like Prabhupada said, if you have an idea, go to 3 devotees or 3 priests and ask them. You say, I want to, start a llama business, llama fur. The thing, ChatGPT will just, she will just, she'll just tell you everything you'd say is like, I want to start a llama business. Is this a good idea? And ChatGPT will be like, that's a nuanced and a great idea. And here are 5 places you can buy llamas from, blah, blah, blah. And you ask a friend, they're like, are you serious? Like, just heard, like, this is actually a really bad idea. But so not ChatGPT. ChatGPT can be helpful to just like grammar and other things like that, throw different things. But yeah, this is sangha, those who are practicing.
Speaking of
That's nice.
intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial? Is a speaker or something?
It's a microphone, so yeah.
No.
So if you have anything to share, any others?
Thank you for your class. I especially liked how you presented Bhakti as being the perfect harmonization of deontology and consequentialism, especially in the verse where it was described how one must perform one's duty in accordance with scriptural injunctions while also considering the benefit that happens afterwards. Yeah.
Okay, so we're a bit past our time. Om Tat Sat. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And so we just want to let you know we have a retreat coming up. And this is a digital detox retreat. Do you need an internal reset? A hard reset for the phone. When the things aren't working right, is it up, down, power or something like you have to press on the iPhone, and then if there's some problem going. But now, do you want an internal reset? Escape the digital hustle, and reconnect with your inner peace. So this is a beautiful farm in West Virginia called New Vrindavan, and they're going to arrange travel. And they have actually accommodations at they have a retreat center, temple there. They have cow cuddling and all kinds of beautiful things. So this is, I think, a weekend or so. You can scan this if you like, and you can have like a digital retreat. And so we're going to have our dinner in here. So usually what we do is we get our appetites up with a little tiny kirtan, and we have a nice feast for you served right here. So, Om Tat Sat, thanks a lot. Hare Krishna.